I don't like clowns.
They've been laughed at, picked on.
There's a roommate, pal!
And put down.
I'm not kissing a nerd.
Revenge of the Nerds.
What is a nerd?
Are you anti-Muslim?
I'm against having if people are coming to a country with antithetical views. I am against that. I'm against that. You know, I'm against I'm against rape and murder. I'm against the imposition of rules and laws that are contrary to what we've come to accept in the West. And I think it's a crying shame that the sort of traditional media, like you, don't recognize this.
First of all, I think that you hugely exaggerate the challenges that Europe faces. Secondly, in areas I completely agree with you. I think that, you know, the constraints on freedom of speech in the UK in certain areas are problematic. What worries me is that the people you are supporting are really quite vile people in some areas. 240 million followers means that you have a power in Europe that I think perhaps you don't realize the scale of impact you have. But you can...
Well, good. I hope I am having a big impact.
But why? Why should you? Why should you be able to shape European politics? You don't even live there.
Why should you?
I think of it as the sort of the West collectively.
But do you see why this makes people think that this man who has all this power, he's the world's richest man, he thinks he has a right to influence our politics? It makes people... It's why, you know, we started this conversation saying superlatives. It's why people loathe you.
Intelligent, civilized people.
Love him. I mean, some people do loathe you.
Yes, some people do.
But do you understand why? Do you think what you're doing is helpful for Western democracy?
Maybe some people do loathe me. And that's probably true. I don't care. But the fact that, as you pointed out, 250 million people follow me is that I think a lot more people actually like me than don't. And I think a lot more people hate you and the media more than you realize.
Yes, we do.
Do you realize the media is despised? Do you realize that journalists, the view of journalists is like a favorable view of journalists is like 15%.
I do know that in the United States.
So the shoe is on the other foot. They hate you. They hate you far more than they hate me.
I think there is certainly a loss of trust in journalism. I think in part there have been mistakes by journalists and journalism. I totally acknowledge that. But I also think that the kind of polarized environment, particularly on social media, fostered by the kinds of things you are pushing on X, actually helps this, makes it worse.
I don't think so. I think you're the problem, the media. And speaking of loathing, you're loathed far more than I am. And you don't seem to even realize that.
I think very few people know who I am relative to you, so I don't think I play in the same game.
The media collectively. So, I mean, you're hated. Do you even know that? You probably don't.
I like to think that I'm aware of my own personal shortcomings and the Economist's shortcomings and our worldview's shortcomings.
Yeah.
But what we stand for, as you know, is liberal values.
What are those?
Does the US or do European countries score better on those?
The US is better.
No.
Yes.
Safe cities, much more dangerous in the US than the UK. Sensible spending, bigger deficit here, out of control. You failed to reduce it. Secure borders now under the Trump administration, I agree with you, before not. But on 2 out of 3, unequivocally, Europe is in a better place. Yet you seem to paint a picture of Europe being a hellhole.
I don't think Europe's a hellhole.
Okay, we can agree on something.
When did I ever say that?
Well, the picture you paint of Europe
No,
on X
you're
is
making up things.
No, I'm not.
You're
You
just literally making it up.
say civil war in Britain is inevitable, and then you basically proselytize for this citizen vigilante film, which really does paint Europe as a hellhole. It just starts with ominous music, and it says Europe.
Well, there was out of control rape and murder.
Our current system is failing to protect our citizens.
He's like the real deal.
It's more dangerous in this country than it is in Europe.
Liar!
Where there is danger in this country is because we fail to incarcerate repeat violent offenders. And that's, the classic sort of Soros DA or judges that fail to incarcerate repeat violent offenders. And if somebody gets arrested 50 times, literally, for violent crimes, and eventually they're going to kill somebody. So you either incarcerate them or people will die.
I think the prevalence of guns has quite a lot to do with it too. I mean, this is a much more dangerous country. Murder rates are much higher, in large part because there are so many guns.
Their action tonight demands an immediate retaliation.
There are many parts of Britain and Europe which are not safe. You can't just walk around.
But there are far more in this country. Far more.
No, I don't think so.
All right, let's go and get my fact checkers to check that.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
Let's move on from this because I think I've got a sense of why you're doing what you're doing.
The point is not that the question is not is America perfect? The question is does Europe have a serious and growing problem?
The question
Absolutely,
is
it has a
which
serious
is
and
more
growing
dangerous.
problem.
That's where we started this.
Europe has a serious and growing problem. I'm not going to say that the United States has no problems. Of course it does, but we should all try to address these issues.
We can agree on that. We should all try to address the problems. My point was simply that I think you exaggerate the scale of Europe's problem, and that
I think people are asleep at the switch and do not realize the magnitude of the issue.
I also think that your interventions, however well-intentioned they may be, risk making Europe's problem a lot worse.
How?
Because you are putting your support behind people who are proto-authoritarians, who are not trying simply to, make sure there is better integration of Muslims or to secure the borders, but who have very clear fascist tendencies, and you will cause huge divisions within Europe.
I think what you're saying is total fiction, and really, I'm simply saying that that Europe has to have secure borders.
Okay, on that we agree.
And should not let in vast numbers of people with views that are antithetical to the accepted views in Europe, and where there will not be some level of safe cultural integration. This is simply common sense.
If all you are saying is Europe should have secure borders, I completely agree with you. Then I have misunderstood what your interventions have been on social media, because that is not what the view I have, not what I would conclude having seen what the people you are supporting and the things you're doing. But if that's your goal, I share your goal that Europe should have secure borders.
Yes.
I think that's perfectly agreeable.
Oh, she does she? When?
Let me explain what the fundamental forcing function here is for why the borders are not secure, which is when you have a welfare state that provides substantial benefits to anyone who comes there, you create a very powerful economic forcing function for anyone who is below that standard of living to come to Europe. It is an obvious, powerful driving force, and people will come there if their standard of living is from what they get in Europe is above where they are elsewhere in the world. It's very basic.
I completely agree with that.
Yes.
I don't
It's a
disagree
very
with that.
basic incentive structure.
I think economic conditions, economic influences determine a lot of migration. I think asylum is a separate issue, but I think you're absolutely right. There are pressures for migration. However, there are other things that you haven't focused on, which is migration brings a lot of benefits, and it also particularly does so in a continent like Europe, which is a rapidly aging continent.
Oh, it doesn't.
It's a lie, 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 lie.
I think Europe benefits from having immigration, controlled immigration. It brings...
Yes, I'm in favor of immigration. Obviously, I'd be hypocritical if I wasn't, since I'm an immigrant to the United States. I'm in favor of immigration if the person immigrating is going to be a productive member of society, if they're going to be honest, and if they're not going to mistreat people in that country they're going to.
Revenge of the nerds. Their time has come.
I drink to that.
I've spoken to Johan Wadepoel, German Foreign Minister, to convey the UK's solidarity. We stand with Germany. None of them dare say anything about that. I haven't read the word in any of these, right? Merz, he says, what a heinous act. Miliband, what an appalling attack. The only person, again, our British ambassador, shocked by the horrific attack. The only person who used the word Muslim or Islamic was Marine Le Pen. They can't even say the word. They can't even say the blimmin' word. I cannot wrap my head around this. Over and over and over again, nothing's done. Rinse and repeat. And you know what, Samara? I honestly think we're going to get to the point that we're going to see vigilantism on our streets.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, there's that film Citizen Vigilante, which, you know, I don't endorse what happened there. And I definitely don't endorse people taking this into their own hands. But unfortunately, governments are putting those in this position where they do feel that they're not being helped. It's like putting a Band-Aid over a bullet hole to not actually address that Islamism and Islamic extremism is the problem here. We had the same thing in Australia when the Bondi terrorist attack happened. Our Prime Minister didn't mention Islamist extremism once, and it is weak leadership that has gotten us into this position where we have innocent civilians dying because of it, and still they won't say anything, which is totally ridiculous. And you're right about the Labour government, the limp Labour government. You know, we have got this new Prime Minister who is acting on a message of hope, but unfortunately, you know, doing pub chip packet reviews is not going to cut it right now. We're in a very, very dire state, and we've got totally the wrong type of leadership in place. And that does make you think, what are the public going to have to do about this? And I'm not calling anyone to do anything violent or anything like that, but I think those have had enough. When you don't feel safe taking the tube or going to a music festival or going and eating in the park or something like that because you fear that you might get mowed down, shot at, knifed, this is when we are at sort of a breaking point, Alex.
Those in power accused of allowing crime to flourish unchecked.
Muslims will take over what? See, but we're marching through. This is a British town, and we are proud to be British. It's our country. Your country. What, it's a Christian country. It's a Christian country. Yes, it is. This is a Christian country.
You're jealous that we're taking over.
You're not taking over. No.
Why are we jealous you're taking over?
Why are you taking over? How are you taking over?
Mate, we've got it, mate. We've got it in the car. Is
that what you think?
You
haven't got like you've got people scared. You don't have us scared. No. You think you can take over town and tell us that it's your country? You've taken over. Not for long. See this crop? This will prevail. That's why.
Dressed like that.
What's wrong with this? What's wrong with this? Oh, really? Slapper, you're being hidden because you're men can't control their areas. So won't you, Sabrina, so that you don't get raped? That's why this is a Christian country. This is a Christian country. This is a Christian country.
I owned a Belgian Malinois for 5 years, and in those 5 years, that dog taught me more about myself than therapy ever did. So let me save you some time. If you are not a fan of high energy, do not get a Malinois. I mean it. This dog woke up at 5 a.m. ready to run 10 miles. I was not ready to run 10 miles. I was barely ready to find my shoes. He didn't care. He was already at the door, staring at me like I personally promised him a marathon and was already late. If you are not a fan of strong loyalty, do not get a Malinois. This dog did not understand the concept of personal space. Shower? He's outside the door. Work from home? He's under the desk. I went to get the mail once, came back in 90 seconds. He looked at me like I'd been gone for 3 weeks. Traumatic doesn't even cover it. If you are not a fan of high intelligence, do not get a Malinois. And I mean that as a warning, not a compliment. This dog figured out how to open the back gate. Watched me do it once. Never needed to watch again. I came outside one afternoon and he was just gone, sitting in the neighbor's yard looking completely unbothered, like he planned a solo trip and forgot to tell me. But here's the other side of 5 years. That dog never left my side when it mattered, knew my moods, knew my schedule, knew when something was wrong before I said a word, loyal in a way that's almost uncomfortable. The energy is relentless, the loyalty is consuming, the intelligence is humbling. But if you want a dog that chills on the couch and minds his business, the Malinois is going to ruin your life. Malinois owners, what's the wildest thing yours has done in 60 seconds of freedom?
It is a messed up world.